I'd like to open up with some thank yous that are going to seem insignificant, and I don't think Darren or Edith are in the room, but I think that's the first group to thank is in the night crew. In addition to a hard job, and then to add to it, keeping us safe, and also, importantly, the impression of keeping us safe and just being visible and out there while still being responsive to everything was very helpful. I'd like to also thank our health room workers, and that's Sarah and Cheryl. Sandy did some spot help in the health room. Just all of our OPs as a front line to answering questions, and we don't know what's coming in through the front doors, and just that gracious, welcoming message was really consistent. It's easy to thank all of you, and being around in the building yesterday, and it's just surreal, right? This whole thing is just unbelievable, and I'm walking around just trying to get a gauge of the place, and I'm seeing kids in classrooms laughing. I see lessons and learning still progressing. If you were out at all during the departure yesterday, students getting on buses, it felt so unlike the end of a school year. It didn't feel like the day before a break. It just felt meh. But for being an empathetic presence for students, understanding their confusion, their anxieties. I just really appreciate everything that was going on around the building. So thank you to you. And again, Dan, for the puppy video. A lot of us have been learning all of this information as it develops through email. And it was really important for me to have a time to pull together to just collectively talk through this. And then it was pointed out to me, pulling together to talk about togetherness seems a little bit ironic when that's what we shouldn't be doing now at this time. So then I canceled the meeting, and like I said in my email, I'm glad I have some smart people on staff that came to me immediately and said, we want to get together, and we need that time to talk. And so this space provides us, a bigger breadth to widen out. But still, I think I'm looking around a room that people that really wanted to have this kind of opportunity. So thanks, and hopefully you saw that I'm adjusting just as the district is adjusting. That you're just being asked to adjust, and this is all new to all of us. So here's a message I want to talk about is I'm going to talk about holding space and just what are we doing and where are we at. I have a project I'll be asking you to participate in. It's called Terrace Gratitude. As far as I have available to me, some practical details of specifically what we're doing, what we're working on, and that's a challenge right now, I know you know. And at 1:10, I said we're going to reconvene in the library, and that was this morning. I'll let you know at 1:10 in the library we have a couple of awards being presented, and it would be great to have people there. I'll let you know what it is, and you'll find out afterwards. But if you can make it, that's great. If you cannot or choose not to, that's fine as well. So that's what's happening in the library. It's a quick come together, a couple of awards presentations, and then back to your day. So space, holding space. I'm going to tell a couple of stories. The first one, I've shared this with a few people I know over my time here, but it's really one of my more powerful stories from the time I was able to spend abroad. So when I was in Thailand, there was a political divide that was going on, and Thailand, on a regular occurrence, has military coups, and they take over the government, and that lasts, and then several years later it happens again. And so this was not unusual, but what happened one day is there was there was a bombing that went off in Bangkok in the heart of the commercial area, so full of tourists, full of people that are commuting. And it was alarming. That kind of stuff doesn't normally happen there. But the response that Thailand had a couple of days later was just stunning. And of course, they had their manhunt, and they had their increased security presence, and they had their investigations going on. But this is how the country reclaimed their space. And a symbolic as well as an actual show of unity that this is not going to break us. This is we're taking it back. Fast forward a couple of months later, several months later, the school I was working at had some incidences. We had a student get injured. There was a facility that had to be shut down for some repair. In my mind, these are like normal things that occur in the life of a school. But my ownership, who was Thai, let me know that they're going to pull in the monks. And so on a Saturday morning, for people that wanted to go, there was a monk ceremony in the lobby. They built a stage, and then everybody else was down on the floor. They put pillows out, and we're on our knees, listening to monks in Thai chanting. But here's the important part is they have this spool of string, and the lead monk, the main monk, hangs onto the end of it, and it goes down, so every monk's got a hold of it, and then it goes through the entire body of everybody that's sitting there, and so everybody's got this hold of this string. And I'm looking around, my first experience doing this, and I've got the director of finance kneeling next to a sixth grader, kneeling next to a gardener, kneeling next to a science teacher, kneeling next to a cook. And, again, for me, it was, hey, this stuff happens, we have bad stuff happens, life goes on in the school. For this school, it was like, no, we're going to take this back. We're going to come together symbolically, but also actually come together, and we're going to make this, we're going to seek this change. I don't think a spool of yarn is going to help us against coronavirus, but what I want to do is pull people together to have that symbolic and that collective of this is not going to break us, and we want to reclaim this space. I don't know what this space is. We're going to be finding out about this virtual space we're going to be reclaiming. Certainly, you've been informed you're not going to be here most of next week, so we're not reclaiming this space. But I think it's just this inner space that I can only describe as terrace. Right? You hear this all the time, terrace people, terrace guy, terrace girl, and that means something. It means something to the people that grew up here, that have been here a long time, and I'm honored and privileged now to be a part of the terrace community, and I think that's real and important and still very unique. So we have two truths that are going on right now in all of our reactions. One is, no matter where you are, your reaction is right. And it depends on how you grew up, it depends on things that have occurred during your life, your perspective, and that'll drive whether you're at a level 10 in response to this, or it'll drive whether you are at a level 2. And no matter what, it's right for you, and it's okay. So every person's reaction to this is right. And if that's true, then, math teacher, logically, no person's reaction can be wrong. And I worry the opposite of coming together as terrorists. I worry that it's going to be tempting to sideline and say, this is dumb, or this is great, or this is right, this is wrong. And we don't know anything. We don't know what is next. We don't know what the next government steps are going to be, what our superintendents are going to decide. So I ask for some radical acceptance of where each other are at. And we need to, beyond let's agree to disagree, which isn't good, but I'm saying let's really focus on, we've got a big, unknown, uncertain, confusing, scary mountain in front of us that as soon as we're done taking care of ourselves and our families, that's going to be our focus of what we can do for the kids in our classroom, the kids that used to be in our classroom. So symbolically, I'm going to send to you, it's a Google form, and it has simple 3 questions to it. I want to gather up the Terrace gratitude, and you can do it 80 times if you want to. You're not limited to one. Hopefully you'll do it at least a few. It's going to be, what's your name? Optional. You can be anonymous. Who are you sending gratitude to? And describe the gratitude. And I want to collect that. And my Monday headlines next week is going to be the compilation of all the Terrace stuff that's going on here at Terrace. There's a lot of cool things that are happening around the school all the time. And I want to draw attention to that while we're working through all of this murk. So that's going to be coming out immediately after this. Please, of course it's an ask, but I encourage you to take part of that. Okay? I'm going to transition then to move on to some practical details. 59 second semesters have looked and felt a certain way here at Mount Lake Terrace, and there's no way we can make what's happening right now fit into that same model. Grades are going to look somewhat different, if not radically different. What students learn, the content coverage is going to look different. Graduation requirements from here forward for these kids as 10th graders, 11th graders, they're going to have to look different. Like everything changes, and we can't look at what we're doing and have this anxiety and this anticipation of, well, we're going to lose out on this, we're going to lose out on that. Like, it's different, and it will be different, and there will be a time we'll look back and say, you know, you remember that year, 2020, how different it was. So what do we know? What do we know? We know that by the end of Monday, you've been asked to make lessons available to families. And the way this was scheduled today, the time for this afternoon was set aside for you to work with by yourself or with others to come up with some activities, some lessons, some resources. I have 2 ninth grade sons at my house, I've mentioned, and I have them in mind that it really dawned on them. They've had a couple of days at home. And with the announcement of the extended closure, it really dawned on them how limited they are in what they're going to be able to do. And we talked about it. So till the end of April, we can't really hang out with friends. Like at first they're thinking, woohoo, spring break came early. And now the realization of how closed in they will be and should be if we're adhering to the safety guidelines. So with them in mind, you know, what I would see is something available to them this week that would be of interest, something they could watch, something they could do that would engage them in what they've already known. But also, we're not prepared as a school to do distance learning. We're not prepared as a district, as counties, to take this on. So this is, in plain words, this is stuff that can keep them going in their existence of potential boredom while they're sitting at home. They're enrichment lessons, non-graded review learning. As of now, we got the message that all staff is coming to work on Monday, and that thins out the rest of the week where non-essential staff are treating the week as spring break. And then no students should be here beginning Monday. During that time, people have asked me, are we able to come in? Will we have access to the building? And I want to say, yes, you do, but that's got to be so limited. Keep in mind that our custodians are not going to be disinfecting all surfaces during that time. Our custodians shouldn't be spending their time cleaning bathrooms that people used a couple of times, or emptying trash that people have used a couple of times. So very, very, very sparingly. And I'd say if it's absolutely essential, you've got to come pick something up that you need. Of course, you have access to that. And the building will be open with the main office, and we'll have a few people here. But also, please keep in mind the spirit of the closure. I get nervous about athletics. Let's suppose there's a coach that would say, hey, we can't go to school, so let's all get together at a park and we're going to do a workout there together, or something like that, or a study group. Like, you AP kids, you need to get together. Like, we can't be telling kids that they have to do something where their family might say, no, you can't. And right now the focus is on safety, the focus is on limiting exposure, and the spirit of the closure is to keep kids away from each other and keep them home. So hopefully, right now we're in this really weird space, what we don't know exactly what to do. This is just a repeat. You have this in your email. This is from Dr. Baumgartner of what our resources look like and what they don't look like. And I think it's known and stated that what the kids are working on this week, provided by you, not graded, doesn't count towards anything not required to be done. That could change, and if it does change, it would be you would be informed by that, you'll be trained in that, and we'll have a chance to come together in some way at some point to be able to know what to do next. This is, it's been called the initial steps, and this is what it looks like. So one of the key questions I keep getting is, what do we need to be doing right now to get ready for all this? And the best answer for that, I think, is wait. As educators, we are not comfortable with that. We want to make sure that we're prepared, that for whatever reason, you want to make sure that what the students have is the best. And I don't want people to spend a bunch of time preparing something and then it ends up that it's not being used or it doesn't fit with what we're doing. Save your time. But also, this is a chance. Look at next week, as it is right now, look at next week, Tuesday through Friday. Focus on home. Focus on family. Focus on getting everything in your household right so that when and if this turns, that we're able to do so. So this is, we're going to open up to a Q&A here. I expect this is probably going to be the answer to most of what we have for questions, and that's uncomfortable. And I know there's a lot of key people that are getting together. Right now, I understand this morning is that the superintendents of the 3 counties of closure, that they're convening and they're discussing a whole bunch of ways of how they can move forward. So we wait and we will be informed. And please don't waste your time trying to get out in front of us. Really, don't do something that would have to be undone later. I really encourage you to do that or to not do that. I'm going to transition then to open it up to questions, and I'll do my best to answer. I'll be repeating questions. Angelo, thank you, is recording this for me to make this available for everybody later on. What kind of questions do we have? Yes? What's going to go on Monday, and why do we need to be here? Monday, as far as I know it right now, is an extension of what people are doing today, this afternoon, and that's the only direct instruction that I have that's available, other than, it's a chance for you to further spend time getting things ready in your own classrooms and what you need to do. And I want to emphasize for what it is right now. I mean, I would stay tuned today and over the weekend for messages just in case that changes. John?
So we need to send some kind of a note home to parents through Skyward.
Correct.
By Monday. I don't know how to do that.
Okay. Well, let me repeat.
I'm told it's easy, but I know I'm not the only one that has never done that.
Okay, so I'll repeat the question, and then Mara, I'll probably repeat your answer. So the question is sending emails to family through Skyward. How does that happen, and how do we get trained on how to do that? Mara?
So the email that you got with the secretary instructions to secretary, there's a link in that document that I created with pictures, step by step. We ran through it a few times. It seems to be working. If you have any trouble doing that, send me an email right away, because there might be a Skyward thing that we need to fix on your end. There's just a handful of users that don't have the print button. John, I will send it directly to you right now. Anyone else?
The services here are so
Yeah, I will put it on MTHS Central at the very top.
Okay, so restating Mara's answer, there's directions as a link inside of an email that has been sent out. Those directions will be pasted on MTHS Central, and any questions on how to do that can go directly to Mara. Thank you so much, Mara. Nayland?
There's something you said in the email. Do you want that shared with you, Dan, or Fabian?
Yeah, so I asked for that. We're going to be here, and Kathy as well. We're going to be here, and should there be any questions that come up the next week, then we have something available to us rather than, I don't know, let me get a hold of Mr. Sood and that back and forth. I don't expect that would happen, but just in case. So if that can be shared with the four of us, that would be good. Kathy?
I already had a family call about the hotspot, and that family uses a printer. So I just once we get set on, we don't have to set up yet, though, right?
No, so
But the form I fill out for people, and I can put it in under the account. So I can start that.
So if you know specifically that the student does not have Wi-Fi at home and you know that student's name and their contact information, you can send that to Kathy. We're gathering a list. The technology department is meeting right now to figure out the best way to get the Google form. So they're going to send that out to families via email, assuming that families have access to the internet through their email. The form they fill out saying they do not have Wi-Fi, and then a hotspot will be delivered. This is all, the technology department is working on all of the logistics of that right now. So incoming, it's not ideal timing, but they are trying to get access to families. That's also why during this time, we didn't all have to be optional, because some families do not have access to Wi-Fi, but if we go in a virtual learning route, technology will ensure that every family has a Chromebook, every family has a Wi-Fi hotspot that they use.
So I'm going to have to summarize that. But I think essentially if you are aware of a student that you know does not have access to internet, inform Kathy, and we're preparing a list to send to IT so that they can be responsive to that. John?
Yeah, my first question was just the start of my question, which was when I send that email to the parents, my understanding is all I have to say is I've already been communicating with your kids through Canvas or through Google Classroom, and that's how I'm going to continue, and that's kind of it. I guess I was more in what am I supposed to say to them as opposed to just how do I say it? How do I?
Okay, so the question is, what do we say if the kids are already know where to get the information for the classroom? And so I would expect there's a wide range of how people are using Google Classroom, and if your students are familiar with that, you may not even, you're going to send an email to parents, but you wouldn't, that's not going to make the difference, right? So your students already know where to go, but I would do simply that and say, hey, just to inform you, there is a few things that they can be working on, and then find it here, whether you provide a link or a URL or whatever it is. But I think in the email then, or you're asking, you don't have to list everything what it is, because they'll know where to find it after that. Yes. Now, if it's less used in your classroom with Canvas, then it may be more, and the students wouldn't know that that's automatically where to go. Then it makes more sense to list things out and provide that in an email. Dana.
Can you explain the statement about treat this like spring break?
Can I explain the statement of treat this like spring break? My take on that is spring break. The key word of that is break. And if this was spring break, there would be no expectation of teachers coming to work. There'd be no expectation of teachers working on work. I know teachers do. There'd be no expectation of teachers checking their emails. I think the key part in this one is checking the emails by the end of the week, because you want to know what's going to be announced about the following week. So my read on this is break means break. So I think it's by stating that, it's removing the desire to want to do a whole bunch of stuff right now. And you're doing that today, and the plan is right now that's happening on Monday, and then the rest of the week is a break.
So spring break is still...
Right. This is not moving spring break. Okay. This is a pre-spring break. Anybody but Dana. Dana?
I'm concerned about our non-certificated people and the people that are on hourly wages and our para-eds. And so what's the plan for them?
Yeah, so question about all of our school staff and our paraeducators and our hourly staff. And the answer to that is we don't know. I think I don't want to be able to speak on that, and we have to wait till we have some announcements. I think as far as what we do know on Monday is all school staff are reporting, and I don't know. And I don't know to sound doomsday-ish, but I don't know. We wait. Hi, Jeannie.
So, because there's been an actual emergency declared, do we have to make these days up?
Is that it? Okay. Do we have to make these days up? Of course, that's not been announced. I think it makes a bigger difference if the governor closes us than if our superintendent closes us. That adds more emergency to the state of emergency. That hasn't been announced, but I think I would speculate that that would be considered strongly. I don't know. It's weird to stand up here and say I don't know.
I heard the governor's news conference yesterday is expected to make up some, but clearly at this extent it will not be all.
Okay. Restating what Russ said, might make up some, but clearly not expected to make up all with the extension of this.
So didn't OSPI, on their website, it says that there will be the option to waive anything after the 19th?
So OSPI has on their website the option to waive anything after the 19th. Yeah.
That's still there currently.
So what we need then is a clear statement of what this will look like. And it may be a bit premature to do that right now, not knowing what things look like on April 24th.
19th of which month?
19th of June is what's stated. Still on the website. Okay. So no need to convene a 4th of July planning committee for our assembly. Yet. Yet. For what we know right now, we don't need a 4th of July planning committee. Okay. Others? stay tuned, and people have been asking me questions on email, and I try to turn those around and respond to the group in case it's a question asked by multiple people. That's good. And let's stay tuned. The first thing you're going to see from me is the terrace gratitude. I do ask, but I hope that that's something that the time can be used to add a couple of those at least, but it's unlimited.